What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Shadowlands video. How are you all doing? Oh, the coffee's good today. It's good every day. Let's be real. What's going on? Listen. This is a good video. This is a pretty special one. We're finally kind of pushing into the 20s territory. All the dungeons getting done on 20. And as you guys know, if you get everything done on 20s, I don't know if all you know this actually, but if you complete each dungeon on 20, you get a portal to that dungeon, which is super cool, actually. Might not be relevant in Season 4, because these dungeons won't have to go as much, but we go into other dungeons. But it's cool to get it for this season right now. This has been my big goal, is to push into plus 20s as much as possible. So we're going to talk about a plus 20 miss that I did today, and I'm going to show you that VOD in a second. We did it with the Deeply Rooted Elements build. I'm not even kidding, guys. We did a plus 20 with Deeply Rooted Elements. So let me talk about my build, and then we'll get into the video. We'll get into all that stuff, okay? So let's check it out. Of course, we're running Deeply Rooted. Stormstrike has a chance to activate Ascendance. Now, I'm going to talk about a couple things that are really important that I think make this build work really well. Number one, you need to go Necrolord to get the haste, because really it's all about pressing Stormstrike as much as possible. You want to be pressing it over and over and over again to try and get the trigger on Ascendance, okay? That's number one. So you're going to go Deeply Rooted, you're going to go Necrolord, and your Conduits are going to look like this. Chill to the Core, Focus Lightning, Tumbling Waves. You're not focused on fire damage anymore. We're not doing a whole bunch of Flame Shock damage with a whole bunch of Lava Lash damage. That's not what's happening. You are doing, most of your damage is going to come from Stormstrike, from proccing Ascendance, and your AoE damage is going to come from Frost Shock, your Cleaves of Lightning Bolt, Sundering, that kind of thing, okay? It's a lot of like little pieces of damage that all come together for one thing, whereas the fire builds are all just about like press Flame Shock, spread it around with Lava Lash, detonate it with Fire Nova. That's like all you're doing. This build's a little bit different. We have AoE coming from like Crash Lightning. When I press Stormstrike, it's obviously doing Crash Lightning damage. It does 1,000 nature damage to all enemies in front of me, which is a significant amount of damage. Every time I press Stormstrike, obviously my procs on Ascendance do a big AoE burst of damage. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. My Frost Shock does a lot of AoE damage as well. So here's the Conduits that you're going to do, and here's the talents that you're going to take. Now, right off the bat, I want to say that you need to reduce the number of abilities that you have. So you're not going to take LE Blast. You're going to take Forceful Winds. You take Storm Flurry, Hailstorms for our AoE, like I was mentioning with Frost Shock. And then look at the bottom, guys. I'm taking Ascendance instead of taking Elemental Spirits. Now, I understand that that's not going to make sense to a lot of people, and you're going to be angry about it, and we're going to have a very long discussion in the YouTube comments about this, I'm sure. Let me tell you why I'm doing this. There's a couple reasons why I'm doing it. It's important. Number one, Ascendance does a ton of damage when you proc it. It does a ton of nature damage, to be specific. And watch this. Right now it does 10.7k nature damage to all nearby enemies. If I Fleshcraft, that goes up by 1,000, basically. Almost 1,000. So now it does 11,000 damage to all nearby enemies when I proc it. You're going to see in the VOD, there's a couple times when I proc it, and it does like 200,000 damage just on proc, because there's so many enemies nearby. So that's really significant. But the reason that we take this is to smooth out the rotation. There are moments with this Deeply Rooted build where you run into a huge AoE pack and you don't get a single proc from your legendary, and that feels very bad. You don't want that to happen. What you want to have instead is take Ascendance, and when you run into a huge AoE pack, you can guarantee that you're going to get this proc by pressing it yourself. So you run into a pack with like 10 or 15 mobs, and you press this every time that happens. And I pressed it 9 times in this dungeon. So there was 9 times where we had a big AoE pull, and I was able to do a ton of damage and not worry about having to get procs or not. You just get to press this button all on its own. Okay? That's the first reason to take it. The second reason to take it is because the tier set bonus actually gives you the Stormkeeper buffs, and so you don't actually need the Elemental Spirits buff as much. Elemental Spirits simply gives you the Fire, Frost, and Lightning enhancers, which is good. Don't get me wrong. That's very, very good. What we're really looking for is, of course, to get the Lightning Dog, because he increases our Stormstrike damage, which turns into Ascendance damage, and he buffs your Wind Fury damage, which of course we're taking Forceful Winds. So I understand why that's good. However, it's not like that good. It's not so much better that I don't think it's worth taking Ascendance. I think it's worth taking Ascendance to shore up the packs where you really want this thing to proc and to go off. And when you don't get a proc from Deeply Rooted, it feels really, really horrible. So what I'm trying to say is you're really banking on the 4-piece set instead of just the 2-piece. Like, you're actually getting both. You're getting the benefit of both. When you use your spenders, you're getting a whole bunch of dogs, which is great. You want that anyway. Even though those dogs aren't buffed by elemental spirits, it's okay because they're triggering Stormbringer. That's what we're interested in. In this build, we're interested in the dogs triggering Stormbringer. We're not interested in them being buffed by elemental spirits. Does that make sense? All we care about is that they're going to trigger Stormbringer and give us our Storm Strike back so that we can press it again, so that we can trigger Ascendance again from Deeply Rooted. That's what we're looking for. So, yes, we want as many dogs as we can get from the 2-set bonus, but it's the 4-set bonus that we really, really care about. A 20% chance to trigger Stormbringer, which resets Storm Strike or resets Wind Strike, or, you know, for our Ascendance proc. So, that's the synergy there. You're going to take Ascendance because you want to proc it on your big AoE packs. And then the rest of the time, you're hoping to get those Stormbringer procs from your Wolves so that you can keep pressing Storm Strike as much as possible so that you can trigger Deeply Rooted as much as possible. That's why it's okay pivoting away from Elemental Spirits. All Elemental Spirits does is give you some extra damage from the Wolves and extra damage on your abilities. And it's good, don't get me wrong. It synergizes well with the 2-piece bonus here. But it's not that much better. It's actually so much better, in my opinion, if you're going to run this build, to take Ascendance so that you can proc it. You have a guaranteed proc on AoE packs. Okay? That's my big spiel there. Let's jump into the video, and let's show you what it's like. Let me show you what happened here. Get this over here. You get, boom, get over there. Okay, over to here. We're going to move my notes over here. Make sure that I'm good to go. Okay, here's our opener. Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. So, like, somebody put a turnip down at the beginning of the dungeon, and it, like, I think it screwed with us and put us in combat. And so then the bear popped Incarn, I popped Wolves, and so we couldn't, but nobody could put the key in because we're in combat. Good start. So the guy goes out. He comes back in, I think he reloads, everything's good. Dogs off now. But then, look at this, my dogs have 5 seconds on the cooldown, and we have 5 seconds on our timer. So I'm, like, trying to press them in time. I'm like smashing my button. Oh, I might have got them off. And I think I did get them off. Oh, we did. Hold. So here we go. Here's the opening pack. Once again, I want to say to you, you're going to pull to the left. You're going to grab the dogs, and you need to get Woe. You need to make sure you kill Woe because you're going to skip. So here's what we're going to do. This is what I'm talking about with my build. What do I have? I have my Necrolord stuff that I'm going to set up. I'm going to set up my Flame Shocks. That's never going to change. Flame Shock into Lava Lash, into Primordial Wave, into a Lightning Bolt. Then I pop Ascendance. And I go crazy. Okay? Primordial Wave. There, I do Ascendance, and I've got the haste rolling. Got the haste rolling so I can press Wind Strike as much as humanly possible. Now, again, even if you have Ascendance rolling, you can proc Ascendance into Ascendance. So I don't think that actually happens on this pull, but you'll see it multiple times in the next pull. We just absolutely murder this pack. The DK doing tons of damage, and of course the bear popped Incarn, and with his tier set, he does a crazy amount of AoE damage as well. So that was fantastic to see. We did a lot of damage. We didn't do as much as them, obviously, but we still did almost 700,000 damage here. So that's cool. We burn through that, and we get Woe. Then you're going to skip here, right? Boom, boom, boom. And then it is Inspiring Week, so you need to be a little careful with the Inspired mobs. It's important to have CC ready to go for them. So the Druid goes up here, and he drops Entangling Roots on this Inspired mob right here. Then he pulls the other 3 guys together. Now, as a Shaman, I could Hex this as well, but watch here. Here we don't have Ascendance anymore, but we are going to get some procs. This is like, this isn't it. There's a proc right there. This is why this is so good. You have your regular Ascendance that's going to be ready to go in 2 minutes, but in the meantime, you're going to get lucky with some of these fillers. There's another proc on Ascendance right there. I just got 2. It helps you do a ton of damage. We're doing 22k DPS on 3 targets right now. Now, I know some of you say, well, you're not guaranteed to proc it. No, you're right. You're not guaranteed to proc it. But the AoE is still really strong from this kit. Because we have things like Frost Shock, we have the AoE Lightning Bolt Cleave from Primordial Wave, which gives you a bunch of haste. All that haste also lets you proc Ascendance more often. It's going to increase your chance of procking it. So it all kind of works together. I got another proc on Ascendance right here, 2 in a row, actually. And if you do get 2 in a row, watch this. I'm going to show you this really quick. Proc number 1 right here. Boom, I have 5 seconds of Ascendance. It's going to proc again in a second. Now I have 10 seconds. It does stack on itself, which is huge, right? It's really huge. So if you do get procs back to back, it's not wasted at all. None of it's wasted. You just get to keep pressing Wind Strike. So you can see our damage there is pretty insane.
We're just
Now,
kind of crushing the meters right now.
let's skip ahead to the boss fight. This fight is miserable for us because the tank doesn't really move the boss out of the blue swirlies. So we actually basically don't do any damage here, which is a little bit frustrating. I do hold Ascendance for the big moment when we need it, when Ingra's taking like double damage. I pull aggro on the tree there. Unfortunate, so I have to back up a little bit. Then the blue orbs start coming out, and there's just, we're not able to move. I get hit by the slam there. That was my fault. It was actually 100% my fault. But then, like, the tank, for whatever reason, maybe we're not kicking Ingra, but we're not able to move. So my damage is, like, and I do drop my Fear Totem here. It doesn't really matter. I'm not really here to do that much damage. This fight's miserable for us.
In this fight. This is insane.
Because the tank, either the tank can't move, or he's just purposely not moving that far, and that kind of screws over my damage. But that's okay. I think it's probably that we couldn't kick. Really, I'm here to drop Tremor Totem. That's a huge deal. I'm here to obviously pop Lust when we need it. And I'm here to kick Ingra as much as possible so that we can move him around. So we do end up killing the tree. I pop Lust. And I do pop Ascendance. Right here. I'm waiting for my haste window. You do want to get into the haste window if you can. The Primordial Wave haste window.
Man, couldn't do any
So
damage
we're catching up with damage a little bit, but this is just kind of a bad fight for us. Let's be real. But look, I got a couple procs on Ascendance. I'm up to 16 seconds again. Isn't that crazy? Like, that's how crazy this can get. So we're gonna skip ahead. I want to make sure you understand that if you're here as a shaman, obviously you're here to Lust. You need to drop Tremor Totem to interrupt the fear. That's a huge part of this fight. Then you need to kick Ingra in the face so that he stops casting, so that the tank can actually move him around. That is really your job. And on top of that, do as much damage as you can. But does he do the fear again? No, where is it? Right here? There it is. So once again, this is fear number 2. Repulsive Visage. Drop your Tremor Totem. Try to get it as central as you can, and it'll pull everybody out of the fear. Really, really big deal. Okay? So he goes down, and we don't do very much damage, but that's okay. 12k maybe overall. Yeah. Then we move into the maze. I get a couple procs here, I think, which is like, is always the way this goes. You kind of get procs when you like don't want to, but that's why taking the Ascendance talent is such a big deal, because you can proc it when you want to, and I'm going to show you some of those moments right here. Let's move into the. So I think I proc it here. I think I actually use it here. I'm not really sure. Let me check. Again, spread your Flame Shocks around. Primordial Wave, spread it around. Big Lightning Bolt, and then I proc Ascendance. Boom. Then we're going. I got another proc. We have 18 seconds right now on Ascendance. Boom, boom, boom. You want to be in the haste window before you do this, right? Make sure you're in the haste window. It's so critical. Don't let your Flame Shocks fall off. I had them fall off for a second there. That's really bad, because then you have to spend 2 GCDs to get them going again. You have to spend a Flame Shock and a Lava Lash. You want to just press Lava Lash to refresh them, right? That's something I got to work on.
Nice, dude.
So now we don't have Ascendance for this pack, but that's okay. We have Primordial Wave coming back. This is like how our AoE damage looks without Ascendance. I'm going to watch it here. We get a big Lightning Bolt proc. We get our Frost Shock. We're still doing 20k, 21k in AoE, even without getting the proc. So, like, it's not terrible. And that's important to remember, that your AoE is still actually pretty strong with Frost Shock and Chain Lightning and Crash Lightning and Storm Strike and all these little things. They all add up together to give you pretty good AoE damage, even though you're not getting your proc. Let's move to 1445. This next pack here, we get a big Ascendance proc. Big AoE. There's 5 targets. I spread my Flame Shocks from Primordial Wave, Lava Lash, Sundering, into my Lightning Bolt, into an Ascendance proc. There's an Ascendance proc right there. Look how much damage that does. Really quickly, sorry. No, I know I'm going backwards here. Look how much damage we're doing overall. Right now we're doing 89k, 90k, goes to 160. So like just the proc itself did 70k damage right there, right? Now we're pumping. We're doing almost 30k. Like that's the power of taking the cooldown itself. We're going to get another Primordial Wave combo here. It's just really, really good. It's really good. I know the Druid's doing 46k right now, but that's because he popped Incarn. And he can just keep pressing swipe, and that's how Druids work right now. So, here is the boss fight. Mistcaller boss fight. This fight is also kind of frustrating. I'm not going to spend too long here. This is just what I want to say is that you make sure you just survive. Don't stand in, don't stand in those things. When it is the ad fight time, there's a lot of pulsing damage going when all the ads are out. Just take your time, stay alive. Don't mess it up, because if you die here, it's a battle res, and this is just such an important tool. This is an easy fight to basically live on. You just have to be careful and avoid. But there's nothing too much to say here. This fight's pretty simple. We all know how to do this fight at this point, so I'm going to move forward. There's a really good AoE moment coming up here. Just focus on staying alive here. That's what I want to say. The tyrannical boss fights obviously take forever. This one in particular takes forever. Here's a really good like AoE moment. We get Woe here. And I think we weren't planning on skipping, so I don't. It might have been accidental, or he wanted to get it for damage reduction for the upcoming fight, which is happening right now, because this gets really juicy. So he's grabbing this pack, and you need to pull this over. This is for percentage. I get a proc right here in Ascendance. Did you see that? Watch this. Watch the damage. I'm gonna just look at the pure damage that did. We're doing 27k, 85k, 220k. We went from 85 to 200, basically. So that's 120k just on the proc of Ascendance alone. That's how good it is. The more enemies you have nearby, the better it is. So he double pulls here. This is huge. I'm setting up my Primordial Wave right now. I have Ascendance ready to go. Here it comes. The haste is now rolling right now, and I pop Ascendance. I think that was another case where I'm doing 300k right now. I'm looking at total damage. Watch this. 300k, 420... to 600. 430k to 600. That's 170k right there. Proc on Ascendance, right? This is the power of that proc. The more enemies you have nearby, the better it is. Now we're doing about 31k DPS. I got another proc there. Watch out for the Earth Slam. There's so many circles this week. I think I get another proc. I back up here again. Don't die. Just stay alive. Do your damage. Another proc right there. It's just great. It's really, really great. And of course, this isn't possible unless you have the initial Ascendance itself to cast. It's a little bit more. There's another proc at the end. It's a little bit harder maybe for the tank. The tank has to make sure that they're pulling really big for you. The bigger they pull, the better. That's how it works, right? But this tank was great. I mean, it's a Druid. He's going to pull as big as he can because he's got Thrash. So that's an example of like how the AoE really should work. Here's an example of us doing AoE damage even though we don't have an Ascendance to press. And we don't get a proc here either. This is just our standard AoE damage with Frost Shocks and Chain Lightnings, Crash Lightning, all that stuff. We're doing 23k right now. Just with that alone. Like, this is how good the AoE can actually be as Enhancement Shaman, even without doing kind of the regular fire build. If you were doing a Primal Lava Actuator's fire build, you'd probably be doing 30k right now, for sure. But we're still able to do 20 to 22k right now with this setup without getting any procs, which is pretty insane, I think. So, I think it's just important to mention that. I get wrecked at the end there. Move on to this last pack. He double pulls here. The tank should always double pull on this week because it's tyrannical. The mobs are not that difficult to kill. So this is the final big pull. I have Ascendance back because of all the that we've been getting. So here we go. I'm going to pop it. Right now I'm doing 140k. We go to 270k. So that's about 100k right there. Just 100,000 damage, just boom, from proccing Ascendance. Once again. I start getting beat up a little bit. That's okay. You can back up and keep doing damage from range, of course. I don't think your auto attacks will hit from that far away, so you do want to be close. You want to be as close as you can get. But if you do have to back out a little bit to do some damage, that's okay. We get another proc on Ascendance right here. It's just really good, guys. It's really, really good. So then we pull the last couple packs here to get our percentage. And then it's on to the boss fight. So here's Tredova, final boss. Once again, I just want to say, you guys know how this fight goes. This fight gets very, very dangerous the longer it goes on. My hair's a disaster. I gotta put some gel in my hair. It's all over the place. This fight gets difficult the longer it goes on. So I'm holding Ascendance right now because I want to get my Primordial Wave haste going. Actually, no, I wasn't holding it. It wasn't off cooldown yet. I'm gonna press it right here. There we go. We're going. 22k boss damage, looking good. Again, this fight's very annoying. There's green puddles that you have to run away from. There's Mind Link you have to run away from. There's the consumption hitting the ground that you don't want to get hit by. There's just so many stupid things in this fight that make it annoying. Here's Mind Link again. It's very frustrating melee fight. Like, it's kind of really anti-melee, which is most fights in this game, but this one's pretty bad. So my advice to you is simply to say, stay alive. You're going to do less damage overall, but you're not going to die, which means you'll actually do more damage overall. If you die, you do 0 damage. Spoiler alert. So this fight is really about staying alive. I'm going to push ahead. Watch how crazy this gets at the end. There's Mind Link again. Here's the final few minutes here. Look at how many green circles spawn now. It's like you have nowhere to go, man. You got to just run. Mind Link comes out again. We get 2 procs on Ascendance right there, which is lucky. Actually, I got the Ascendance proc. The actual Ascendance cast got back. That guy was in a seed, so I had to run away from him. But this is good. I can do damage from range because this fight's really annoying, so I can still keep doing a reasonable amount of damage. But here comes all the green swirlies again. I try to get out of it, but I just can't. I die. We get rezzed. And I get Rocky out just to give me some more health here in a second. I'm just running away again. This fight's so annoying, but again, try to live as long as you can, and you'll be able to get there. So here's the final few moments. We're doing damage. Rocky's out. It's looking good, man. We got about 1:45 left to finish off Tredova, and we get her down. Oh. And I get the achievement. Keystone Hero, Mr. Turner says. So
Got it, baby.
That's a plus 20, right? That's how you get those portals. So that's pretty insane. Let's look at the numbers once again. We did 13.7k overall, almost 14k overall with this build, which is pretty crazy. Honestly, it's pretty crazy. But look at the Ascendance proc itself. This is just the proc, guys. It did 10.1% of my damage overall. Just from, like, procking. I was trying to show you multiple moments there where it's doing 100k, 170k on the procs. Really, really insane stuff. The DPS profile is pretty, like, spread. Lots of Lightning Bolt cleaving with Primordial Wave. Crash Lightning does a ton of damage. It does a ton of damage because we have so much mastery now. I actually got a ring that gave me a ton of mastery. So now I'm sitting at, like, 75% mastery, basically, which is pretty cool. And that makes the Ascendance proc itself do more damage. That's why this is doing so much damage. Lightning Bolt is obviously nature damage, so it's doing more damage. Crash Lightning is a huge amount of damage. This is the actual cleave part of it as well. This is just me pressing Crash Lightning up here, I think. And then this is the proc that you get from Crash Lightning, where it causes 1,000 nature damage to all targets in front of me. So we have, and then Frost Shock is also frost damage, which benefits our mastery as well. So this is kind of, it's good to have mastery even with a build that's focused on Ascendance, which, you know, you're casting Wind Strike a whole bunch, which does physical damage, which is not benefiting from your mastery. But the point is, you're focused more on this proc up here and all the other parts of your kit that are doing damage. So there it is, guys. There's deeply rooted elements in a plus 20. I actually never thought we'd kind of get here, but we did. I want to say that I think it's viable. I think this actually can work. And I think you do need to take the Ascendance talent itself to balance out the procs for the big AoE pulls. You need to have some deterministic spells to cast here so that when you get into that big AoE pull, you pop Ascendance and you're doing tons and tons of damage. So love this build. It's so much fun to play, and I think it actually can work. Did it in a plus 20 Tyrannical Mists. So there you go, guys. That's the build. And that's how good it can be in a dungeon. Yeah, that's it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you want to drop a like down below, I'd really appreciate it. If you could subscribe to the channel, I would also appreciate it a lot. And go check out the Patreon that I'll have linked down below if you want to donate to help me continue making more content on this channel. I would really appreciate it. So thank you guys so much. Until the next one, we'll see you later.